Take 3 Wrestling Podcast coming to you. Today is what? February 13th is actually Valentine's Day Eve, whatever the fuck you call it. I'm here, of course, with Mike Rainier, Joe Lopez. Fellas, it's been 2 weeks, man. Missed y'all.
Did you though?
Well, it's your fault we didn't record last week.
Is it? No, it wasn't.
Remember, supposed to do Saturday?
Well, you
Saturday?
forgot that it was Saturday. And
yeah.
then Earnest supposedly had a Black History Month project to do for his son that was due 3 days before that. So that didn't work out. So
yeah.
I feel like I'm the only one not to blame for us having a show last week.
Mike's coming in clean, man. Mike's coming in clean.
In my defense, I don't know what day of the week it is ever.
Wait, Joe, you have a defense right now? You have a
I
defense?
think that was a perfectly acceptable defense.
No, you're a Jets fan. You have no defense. No, you're a Jets fan. You have no fucking defense.
I am no longer a Jets fan. I gave that up this past season.
He gave it up for Lint.
Anyway, before we get started, because we're going to preview Takeover, which is actually tomorrow night. When this podcast comes out, it'll be today, but Takeover is tomorrow as it's recording. I got a confession to make to you, Mike.
Okay.
I was hoping White was in earshot to hear this, but I miss Disney.
No, you don't.
I do. I swear to God, I do. No, I'm being serious. Lauren had this conversation like a couple nights ago. My wife Lauren and I, and I was telling her, I think I miss Disney now.
I call bullshit.
No, I'm being serious. I miss my rock and roller coaster, man.
All right, well, you better find a way to get your pass back.
We're working on that. We're working on that. Well, the thing is, I'm not going to go back until fucking, at least 70% of the country is vaccinated, because I don't want to go in there with a fucking mask on in the hot sun.
You're still going to have to wear masks even after everyone's vaccinated.
Well,
that's a thing now. You know that, right? Like going forward in life. That's a thing.
Kill me, Joe. Kill me.
Bro, they've been doing it in China since like 2003, since SARS happened. This isn't new.
Okay, kill me, Joe.
He's not wrong.
I know. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just like, kill me. I'm looking forward to this. So anyway, but I do miss Disney. So we've been talking about getting my passes back too, probably next couple months. We'll see. Anyway, we got a pay-per-view to preview. We got a lot of pay-per-views coming up next couple weeks. We got Takeover tomorrow. We got Elimination Chamber, I think next Sunday, right?
Yes.
And then we have what?
I said that sounds right.
What do you mean?
No, it sounds right that it's next week.
Yeah, it's next week.
What do you mean?
What the fuck?
It's crazy, right? I know.
You know what? You didn't answer that in the form of a question, Joe.
I apologize.
We need to do another Jeopardy.
Oh, don't worry. You are next week. I have already gotten most of the board ready.
Whoa, next week?
Elimination Chamber Jeopardy.
I'm gonna lose that. I think it's in like maybe 2 or 3 of those.
Well, you got a week.
You've got a week to study.
If you're gonna do this, Mike, you gotta warn me at least a month in advance.
You don't have to even know the finishes. Just go on Wikipedia and read some shit.
Wait. First of all, let's be honest here. You could have been told 3 months in advance. You still would have waited till the last minute and then been like, "Oh yeah, I didn't have time to do it. My kid had an Arbor Day project that was due, so I fucking had to do that." Bullshit, man. That would be the conversation. So don't bullshit us whether he gave you a week or 3 months, all right?
Joe, don't act like you know me. Oh, you're right. He's actually correct about that.
It's an Arbor Day project. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an Arbor Day project.
What's March? What's the March? Anything in March? Oh, I have a St. Patty. I got a St. Patty's Day project coming up. I got a St. Patty's Day project coming up now.
Oh, God. That's the St. Patrick's Day projects are the only ones my dad was good at helping me with.
Oh, really? Jesus.
Yeah, because he was an alcoholic.
Oh, jeez. Anyway,
we went there to start.
We did, yeah. Anyway, oh, God, it was ridiculous. Anyway, let's get to the NXT Takeover Vengeance preview. Mike, fire away.
It's like Vengeance Day, like Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I love the promo they're doing on the network.
Name.
Do you find that promo lame or cool? What they're doing on the network?
It is the shittiest name for a takeover. I'm sorry.
Why?
Vengeance Day? Like, what the fuck is that?
Was Vengeance always on Valentine? I mean, I know the first one was on December, but was it always?
No, but like, okay, look. Let's be clear here. If they wanted to call this Vengeance, they should have just called it Vengeance. I think that they were missing a really good opportunity at having it be like St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Thank you.
But maybe they can't say Massacre anymore because it's 2020 and someone will get butthurt. I understand. Era. So, like, you know, that's a possibility. But, you know, this is also maybe low-key in my fantasy world where NXT is Triple H's version of WCW. I'm a little disappointed that this isn't just Super Brawl. So, you know, like, it is what it is, but Vengeance Day is a horrible name.
No, it was horrible. I don't know if I used it for Valentine's, but I think it's a horrible name.
Well, maybe you're wrong.
Okay. Whatever, Joseph. All right, Mikey, take it away.
This is how you stay married, isn't it? Like, I just straight up am like, you suck, and you're just like, yeah. Like, you're just fucking Stockholm syndrome over here.
What is the point of fighting? What is the end? I always say this to my wife.
Holy shit, you have been married for like a decade.
Yeah, I've been married for 10 years in April.
I hear the defeat in your voice.
It's not defeat. It's understanding the long game. Understanding the long game. What is the end game of we talk about Marvel, of course. What is the end game of the discussion? You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna fucking fight and then get thrown to the couch and I don't get laid anymore and then all that. That ain't worth it, man. Ain't worth it. Sorry.
I'm gonna send your wife some victory flowers.
Send her some St. Valentine's massacre.
Yeah, it sounds like you're the one that got St. Valentine's massacred, bruh.
I might like it though. Careful. Anyway.
All right.
Wait,
now that you two are got your fucking love-hate relationship out of the way, let's move on.
It's called playful sexual banter.
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is the final show on the North American version of Peacock. Of the WWE Network before it merged with Peacock.
Peacock. The cock.
I'm sorry. The last NXT event. You also have Elimination Chamber that we'll get to, and I think Fastlane is
the first before. Peacock pay-per-view. Correct.
Okay, so you have this one in Chamber, and then we go over to Peacock.
Can we refer to them once they start airing on Peacock? Can we refer to them as Peacock previews?
No, the cock.
Yes.
The cock.
Cock previews. Cock previews.
I like that.
My entire gay life has been leading up to this moment for me to scream on a podcast, cock previews.
Makes sense.
Joseph.
All right. This show so far has 5 matches announced on it. I'm just moving on because we're just going to get through this.
Sorry, Mike.
Jesus. We have the finals for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic for both the male and the females. We'll start with the women's match. How we got there. Opening round, we saw Ember Moon and Chauncey Blackheart defeat the team of Marina Shafir and Zoe Starks. We saw the way of Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell defeat Cora Jade and Gigi Dolan for the top half of the bracket. Bottom half of the bracket, Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter defeated the team of Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez defeated the team of Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea. The semifinals saw Ember Moon and Chauncey Blackheart defeat Candice and Indy Hartwell, and Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez defeat the team of Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter. So that sets up your finals. Ember Moon, Chauncey Blackheart, Cobra Kai Never Die, and Raquel Gonzalez. I'll start with this one. I think this one is definitely going to go the way of Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. I think they're building the two of them up into a a very good team. And I'm going to low grade say that I wouldn't mind seeing them bring the women's tag titles to NXT for a couple months. I think the two of them work well together as a tag team, and I think that this is going to be more as a launching pad to get Chauncey and Ember back into the NXT women's title picture.
I concur. Everything you just said there. Everything.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think, first of all, even if we don't end up getting them, Rochelle, if we don't get her and Raquel, right. If we don't get her and Dakota Kai as champions in the tag division, I could see both of them getting pushed in the singles division. I mean, Raquel has that big victory over Rhea on Rhea's way out, it seemed, of NXT. So, I'm expecting that she's going to end up fighting Io eventually. And you got to assume that Dakota will be involved in some capacity. I mean, one of the two of them could very realistically be the next champion in NXT,
By the summer, probably. Yeah.
I think it could be sooner than that. It could be by WrestleMania weekend, depending on how you play it out.
Is Rhea officially out of NXT, or she's?
I mean, that's what the word was, but I haven't. I admittedly have not watched an episode of NXT in a hot minute. So I don't know if she's been on the TV shows or anything. She's not on this
to my
card,
knowledge.
So.
My prediction: they'll pull the trigger after WrestleMania.
I might go bold prediction and say one of them wins the title at WrestleMania.
I can see that.
One of them being either Dakota or Raquel.
Or whomever you're going to have take the title off of Io Shirai.
That could even be Ember Moon. That could be. There's actually a lot of women in that division who could realistically win that belt.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This is probably the deepest that the women's division for them has been since the Becky, Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, you have the two that are in the match with Io later in that show, Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. You have Raquel and Dakota. You have Ember and Chauncey. You have Candice. I mean, I would say that this is probably the biggest depth-wise that their women's division has been in quite some time, at least for NXT.
Which is crazy, too, because I remember last year talking about this on the pod, and they lose, obviously, Shayna Baszler, early in the year. They lose Bianca, I think somebody else went up there, I think called up also, right, besides those two. And we thought, is the depth here in jeopardy? But, yeah, I have to agree with you. They've done a good job the last 9 months to really solidify that division.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
And I'm going to try to say this as nicely as I can. If you know someone that works for the other company and you're listening to this show, this is how you build a women's division. Figure it out.
I just think WWE's talent is night and day better than the talent on AEW. And in terms of the women, it's not on talent. Like, AEW's best wrestlers aren't even employed by AEW.
Well, you also have to remember that while they're not employed by AEW, which the best women's wrestler they have is employed by them, and it's Britt Baker. We've had this conversation.
There are plenty. Wait. Is she the best in-ring performer? Women's talent?
Who would you take over? Who would you take over out of that division?
I mean, who's a better in-ring? I mean, I would probably, based on the material, I Thunder Rosa's better than her in-ring. I'm not better character, obviously. The whole package, Britt Baker, definitely. I'm with you. But
and are we sure that Thunder Rosa isn't part of that roster?
I don't know. Last I heard, she was still NWA. I mean, I don't know.
I think her NWA contract's up.
Okay. I mean, look, they use anybody at this point. They need anybody.
What I'm getting at is you're bringing over, again, at least one person from Japan because they have to wrestle whoever wins the American side of the bracket. Honestly, they should have done a third bracket and made it a triple threat match and made it the free agent bracket. Bring in people like fucking Allison Kay and Ashley Vox and a couple of the girls that are wrestling on AEW Dark and put them into a thing and give them, like, see what these people are going to do. Because at the end of the day, while it's talent, it's also depth. I mean, we're talking about a women's tournament that had 3 new hires in Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, who is the former Priscilla Kelly, and Zoe Starks, that they all signed right then and there. But let's look at it. Indy Hartwell's been there. Candice has been there. Ember's been there. Chauncey. Casey Catanzaro wasn't even trained to be a wrestler. And, you know, she's come as far as she has. So I think they got to pull the trigger on getting the depth in there. And, you know, I just don't understand the hey, let's put Rio in the United States side of the bracket. But that's another question for another day.
Right.
Let's get back to the takeover. Male side of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic bracket. First round matchup saw the Undisputed Era of Adam Cole and Roderick Strong defeat Tyler Breeze and Fandango. Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, 1 week after their cage fight, replaced the injured Ashton The Adonis and Desmond Trey after they were both kayfabe injured by Karrion Kross. They defeated Ariya Daivari and Tony Nese. Kushida and Leon Ruff defeated the Way of Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory. Ever Rise of Chase Parker and Matt Mattel fell to the grizzled young vets. Bottom half of the bracket, MSK, the debuting Nash Carter and Wes Lee, formerly Zach Wentz and Desmond Xavier, I believe. Or is it the other one?
I'm not sure.
It is Desmond, because Trey went back to Impact. It was Desmond Xavier. They defeated the teams of Jake Atlas and Isaiah Swerve Scott. Drake Maverick and Killian Dane over Austin Gray and Kurt Stallion. The Lucha House Party, who were, quote, guests, Grand Metalik and Lindsay Dorado. They defeated the team of Imperium of Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel, which I thought was a surprise and an upset because I thought this was an Imperium run waiting to happen. And in the final first-round matchup, 205 Live, the Bollywood boys, Samir and Sunil Singh, were defeated by Legado del Fantasma of Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza. The quarterfinals saw Ciampa and Thatcher defeat Cole and Strong. The Grizzled Young Veterans defeat Kushida and Leon Ruff. MSK over Maverick and Dane, and Legado del Fantasma over the Lucha House Party. Semifinals, we saw the Grizzled Young Vets, James Drake, Zach Gibson. They defeated Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa, and MSK defeated the Legado del Fantasma, setting up the finals. James Drake and Zach Gibson, the Grizzled Young Vets, taking on MSK of Nash Carter and Wes Lee.
I didn't see the last round. I thought.
Okay. I didn't read this, but it has been said on Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt. The winners of the Dusty Women's get a future tag title shot, and the winner of the Dusty Men's gets a future NXT tag title shot. I didn't know that they had actually announced the prize for the Dusty Rhodes Classic, but Twitter or Wikipedia is saying elsewise.
Well, that's good to know. And, also for just $5.99, you can help keep Wikipedia free of charge.
That's it? Just $5.99? Sign me up.
I mean, it depends on the day of the week, honestly.
You get those every 6 months, like that pops up.
Yeah, seriously. So I love this as an opportunity to get MSK really over. Like, just send them to the fucking stratosphere, because here we are trying to rebuild this tag division, and you're doing a decent job with it. And it's kind of funny because I feel like every time the tag division's a little bit at a low, it's right exactly then that they're like, Dusty Rhodes Classic time. And you end up rebuilding the division through that, because you have some new teams that get to make a run, and, you have some teams that, didn't exist before, but somehow end up becoming a thing in the tournament, That's how we got last year. That's how we had the Broserweights, So was that a team? Was that their name?
The Broserweights.
That was okay. I'm just making sure I wasn't just making that up.
I missed them, man. I missed them.
No, they were a great team. No, but
they never lost the tag titles.
No, they didn't. COVID happened.
But so here's the thing, though. So what I'm saying is, like, this is a great opportunity in this tag division that I think is still low-key struggling and is in the process of being rebuilt. this is a great opportunity to send a team kind of directly to the top. And I don't think that there's a better team than MSK for that position.
Yeah, give me MSK.
So passionate there.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched much NXT in the last couple weeks. I'm relying on YouTube, honestly, to keep me in a loop.
What I would say is I think MSK is obviously the team that would make a ton of sense, especially because they're the quote faces and, the champions of Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Not really the goodest of guys, but they are Pat McAfee's guys. So, I mean.
I am still stunned, though, that Thatcher and fucking, I'm going blank, though. Thatcher and Ciampa, thank you. They lost. I thought when AB Undisputed Era, I thought that, okay, well, they slide them into the finals.
No.
Right.
I think that you have to also take, I don't know, you don't know much about the team that MSK is facing, the Grizzled Young Vets of James Drake and Zach Gibson. They actually were the winners of the United Kingdom Championship tournament for the tag titles. They held the tag titles for 231 days before losing them to Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews. So it's one of those where I think NXT knows what they have in these two guys, and they're actually pretty good. They're a pretty good team together. They were also a tag team in Progress where they were 3-time tag team champions. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzled Young Vets won, but I think based off of who the champion is right now, I think that you're going to end up getting MSK. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that they should just continue to strap the rocket ship to them and just give them the tag titles, whenever they get that shot.
Just glad they're prioritizing tag teams again. Thank God.
NXT's always prioritized it, but it's always been prioritized around the Dusty Rhodes Classic.
Right. Now, sustain it now for once.
Well, I mean, the problem is nobody likes tag team wrestling.
When you say nobody, what do you mean?
Nobody in any company likes tag team wrestling.
Do you like tag team wrestling? You?
I don't work for the company.
Oh, it's all people actually work for the company.
What I said was people that work in either company don't like tag team wrestling.
Well, I know Vince don't like it. That we know for a fact.
Vince doesn't like it. I don't think Tony Khan likes it. I don't think whoever the runner of New Japan Pro Wrestling is likes it. I think if you work for a company, I think the first thing you have to answer in your questionnaire is, do you like tag team wrestling? If you circle yes, you're automatically disqualified.
I'm going to disagree with you about Tony Khan. That entire company is built around tag team.
It's the whole foundation right now is tag team wrestling. It has been for years.
They have shitty ass storylines. That's why it's not working very well. But
they don't have storylines.
37 tag teams.
No.
Okay, just because you have 37 of them doesn't mean that any of them are good.
Right, but I'm saying, to me, a weak tag division is when you have, 2 tag teams, New Japan has a weak tag team division. Because I couldn't name more than, 2 teams that actually exist there.
I mean, you put 2 singles guys together to create a tag team that held your titles for the longest, and you put 2 more singles guys together and made them a tag team, and you're going to push them. Makes perfect sense.
Anyway, tag team wrestling rules.
It does when you have real tag teams and actual storylines. That I'll agree with.
Yeah.
All right. Women's titles match is a triple threat match between Io Shirai, the champion. She defends against Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. Martinez recently just returned prior to the Dusty Classic. Basically, after leaving Retribution unknown to pretty much all of us.
I would love to see Mercedes win, but I'm gonna go with Io. I don't think it's her time to lose the belt yet.
Just tough because Io's had the belt since June last year. So you'd think if they would do it be now. Would it be better to change the titles to WrestleMania weekend?
That's the thing, right? Like it's been such an uneventful reign that it might as well not end. Like it's not out of steam because it's kind of just been there anyway. So yeah, like I feel like at this point you let it keep going till Mania weekend, and at least you change the title when it counts. You know,
she's been a solid champion, so it's like why end it now?
Yeah, she's I guess she's been a solid champion. It's hard because I don't feel like it's her fault that they haven't given her anything to do, but they've kind of given her nothing to do.
Well, put it this way, Joe, for me, and you're right what you said there. There's nothing been flashy, but every match she's done has been above average.
Right, so, that's right. Like
all you can
her,
do.
Right? Okay, her as a talent is phenomenal because anything they ask her to do, she delivers and then some.
Right.
It's the fact that they're not asking her to do very much, and that's on the company. But they're two different things.
Right. I agree. Give it to
Are we sure that they're not asking her to do anything?
I mean, what do you mean?
I mean, you're saying she's not doing anything. If you go back and look at her title matches, or she's defended the title 6 times. Tegan Knox, pretty good match. Takeover 30 against Dakota, pretty good match. Takeover 31, Candice LeRae, not bad. The Table Ladders and Scares match at Halloween Havoc, that was a pretty good match. And then the match against Rhea Ripley, which is probably one of the better women's matches we've seen in the last calendar year. And in between it, I don't know, she was an integral part in the feud leading into War Games. Just because it's, there's also other feuds going on in the women's division, a la The Way versus, Shotzi and all that stuff. It doesn't feel like it's as forgotten as you would think. Yeah, she's held the title for 252 days. Rhea Ripley held it for 99 days and had 3 defenses before losing it to Charlotte. I mean, I don't think she's not doing anything with the belt. I think she's doing a lot more than other people have with the belt. I think she's been an integral part of what NXT is building.
I don't know. It just hasn't felt very noticeable to me.
Okay, well then let's play the questionnaire then. What was the last meaningful NXT women's title run? Who had?
I guess Shayna, because Rhea was short. Rhea was like 4 months.
Are you talking about her 416-day run where she defended the title a total of 9 times?
Right. I didn't follow the run. I'm just saying based on what I've seen.
My question is, she's doing as much as anybody else has with the title. Asuka held the title for 510 days. She had 11 title defenses.
That's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. But here's the question, though. Is the way they're booking matches now versus, say, 3-4 years ago, would you say it's different or no?
I think that this is the evolution of the women's division in NXT. I think this is them. They don't have to be involved in the title picture to be integral parts of it. I mean, Bianca Belair was part of the storyline for the title for 3 months, but she was getting pushed on TV for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She should have been in the title picture sooner, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen.
I see what you mean.
I just don't think that when you look at the women's division in NXT, the depth has made it to where the title isn't necessarily a necessity to be an integral part of the division. Because none of them have had reigns where they've defended the title a ton. Paige won the title, held it 308 days, had 3 title defenses. Charlotte held it 200 plus days, had 7 title defenses. They don't defend the title a lot when they get it. I think that's a drawback on.
This is you're talking about NXT.
Yes.
When they were in NXT. Okay.
But we also have to remember there was depth with Charlotte and Sasha and Bayley and Becky, and stuff like that. But it was just the 5 of them. Like,
Right.
You couldn't get, like, Carmella was there, but she wasn't great. Like, you couldn't go out there and be like, okay, Asuka, go get a 4-star match out of fucking insert jobber here. You couldn't go get a 4-star match when Peyton Royce and Billy Kay signed with NXT. Like, Asuka couldn't get a 4-star match out of them. She may not have been able to get a 3-star match out of them because they were learning the WWE style and stuff like that. So I think, like, the way you look at it is now with like Shayna's second run of 416 days, like, that was the real, like, oh, okay, this, like, they're not the developmental brand anymore. Like, they're a third brand, and Rhea's run and Charlotte's 62-day run with the belt, and now Io's 250-day. Like, you're starting to see, it's more like you're getting good matches out of the title. So the champion that has it, like, you have to get to that person to have that match. So you got to beat other people to get the title shot. So Asuka may not be defending it, or excuse me, Io may not be defending it as much because everyone's got to get through each other to get to her. Whereas in the past, it was, damn, we have 5 good wrestlers on the female side. We got to put them on the show as much as we can. Whether it's non-title or not, the women's champion was on the NXT shows a lot in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know if you're getting that anymore because you have a deep enough roster of women that Io doesn't have to be on the title every week.
But I guess, like, what's interesting to me about it is, for a while, I would agree, and I think I've even said it, that it would get very repetitive that the women's division would be kind of focused around one person. When Asuka was there, it was her. And then after her, it was Shayna. And then it was Rhea. And so it was kind of a little worrisome because you kept having the cycle repeated and it got old. It got old when Shayna was doing it, So it is nice that we haven't had that. However, I think that it's been a little bit at the sacrifice of Rhea's placement. Io's placement in the overall structure and kind of historically in the structure of the women's division. Because look, like when Asuka was there and she was the champion, she was the dominant member of that division. And that, she's a legend there, And I think you could even say the same thing about Shayna. Like, she may be very divisive among people. She might be someone that you either love or you hate. But there's no denying that when she was the champion in NXT, she was the dominant member of that division, And I just don't feel like you could say that about Io. And I do think that, like I said, well, that's a little refreshing to not have the whole division built around one person. I think it's refreshing at the sacrifice of Io. For me.
Well, I just think I see what you're saying. I just think that the getting other people involved has made it where we don't have to worry about only having 2 options, and I think that's been a good thing for NXT for depth perception.
Right.
But yeah, I'll take Io to retain as well. By the way, before we move on.
There you go.
I think she holds until Mania, if not shortly after Mania, whatever the next takeover would be afterwards.
There's a good analogy though right there. You just said it. It just came to my mind because my mind's a brilliant place. I'm like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind sometimes.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
But when you said depth, the depth in the division, that makes me think of football. And I think there's a good example though, right? Because it's like Io is like the star running back on a football team. And so when you drafted her in fantasy football, you were like, hell yeah, I'm about to get like 40 points every week. And then all of a sudden, it's running back by committee, and you're getting like 12 points from her, and you're like, the fuck is this shit? And then you lose the championship, and then your wife leaves you. I'm sorry, Ernest.
I have no comment there. Joe, you're a nut.
All right, NXT North American title match.
Yeah.
Johnny Gargano, the champion, takes on Kushida. Yeah, I'll let you guys
Fun
start.
feud.
Joseph?
I love that this match is happening.
Yeah.
Because it's about damn time that Kushida actually had his moment to shine here in NXT. I would love to see him win the belt. But then again, I would also not want to see Johnny win the belt again for like the 8th time in like 3 weeks. So maybe let's just avoid that and just keep the belt on him here. So I'm going to go with Gargano winning.
Yeah, keep Kushida in chase mode for a little longer. It's a good feud also on top of that. What you said too about the Gargano, losing it just to get it back again a few months later. Yeah, keep it on him for at least another 2 months, and then maybe make a change Mania weekend.
I'm gonna go for the title change.
Mike going for it.
Johnny and Joe can attest to it. Johnny Gargano's probably one of, if not my favorite wrestler in the business right now.
Yeah,
but
even heel Gargano.
Oh, Wheels Love Johnny. Johnny wins. Trust me. I'm all for Johnny Gargano, everything he does. I was probably one of the only people in the world that actually liked his heel run in Evolve. The only problem is it went about 935 days too long.
Yeah, no, seriously, if Johnny Gargano had an inch of height for every amount of fandom that Burn has for him, he'd be 7 foot tall.
I remember
7'1".
Right, I remember getting NXT and like Johnny wrestling, and then the next thing you know, he turns heel last year. And I was curious how you feel about him.
Johnny needed the heel turn.
I agree.
Because he did everything that he could as a face.
Right.
Like, Johnny reached his apex as a face in the current role that he was in. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, never worried about himself, always worried about Ciampa and doing everything the right way. So it's like Johnny needed that heel turn to get himself into that next gear. Now that Johnny's had it, it's been great.
Yeah.
But it's time to get him into a different spot. And I think that's...
I also like him with the package with him and his wife too, especially. It works together too.
It does.
It really does. The whole project, the way and all that stuff works perfect. I think it's over very big. But the thing here is...
It actually reminds me a little bit of real quick, a little bit on a higher level, of course, because of the fact that she does more of Randy Savage and Sensational Sherry. Like, kind of had that kind of vibe a little bit.
I do not see that at all. But I love
that. No, I'm just saying in terms of like her involvement. Now, obviously, she wrestles regularly too. Sherry at that point when she got with Macho was not doing. But in terms of the dynamics, it's phenomenal.
It actually reminds me of Sting and the baseball bat that he carries, because like the baseball bat is always there for him.
That's not Liz. I'll tell you that.
No. All right. So back to my Kushida references here. Kushida's been with the company just under 2 years. He was announced at a press conference in April 2019 that he was signing with WWE.
Mm-hmm.
He did nothing meaningful the first almost 2 years that he was in the company. Yeah, he was in the Dusty Classic with Alex Shelley as a one-off. He was in the Dusty Classic this year with Leon Ruff. He had a dumb feud with the Velveteen Dream. Like, that feud was just meh. Like, I get, like, everything happened and the world shut down and then shit came out about Dream and this, that, and the other. And it was just kind of there.
Could have been better.
But I'll say this, though, with Kushida. Because you know me, I'm a huge Kushida fan. I've been a huge fan of his since his New Japan days. I got to see him wrestle in Ring of Honor a few times. I even got to meet him once. That was awesome. He was there at his merchandise table, and I'm pretty sure at the time he probably only understood like 4 words of English. But I walked over to his table, and I tried to explain to him that I did not want to buy anything, nor did I want a photo or anything. I just wanted to tell him I am a big fan. And he kind of just bowed to me, and I think we had a moment. We might have had eye sex. It's okay. We did not use protection, but it's okay. Anyway, So the thing though is that I was just thinking as you were explaining, Kushida's kind of run here, while it hasn't really been eventful, it also hasn't been damaging. And I think that's important, like they haven't had him jobbing out to everybody. They haven't had him doing some sort of horrible gimmick. Like he hasn't been coming out as fucking Kenzo Suzuki or some shit, They've kept him pretty protected. He might not be off the bench very often, but he's been genuinely kind of kept like in the right kind of cocoon so that when the time came for them to let him out, which seems to be right now, it's not something that is unfathomable. You're not sitting here being like, wait, this is the guy that lost every fucking match he was in for a year, and now all of a sudden I'm supposed to think he has a chance of winning this belt. That's not what happened. So while I, as a fan of Kushida's, while I wish that maybe he had gotten more of a push a year ago or 2 years ago when he first kind of came on the scene here in NXT, I'm with it. The fact that he was never damaged to the point where we're not where we are now, where he is getting this push. And, like him winning the North American title tomorrow night, not at all out of the question, not at all unimaginable. Like I'm going with Johnny winning, but I can see Kushida winning. I feel like this is one I'm probably going to end up being wrong on.
Right.
Because
I'm just hoping I'm not. I'll be hoping we're both wrong on this. I like
right.
The title. I just hope it's
That's the
going to
thing.
happen.
It's been built really. He's been built really well, and this is a good next step for him. Because you know what? Like at the end of the day, Kushida, might he be the kind of guy who could be NXT champion? I don't know, but I think that you can get him to the North American title. I think you could put that on him and see how successful he is with that, and let it kind of be, kind of a testing out to see if he could possibly be the next step from there. It's definitely possible.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that aside from, he was in like that cruiserweight tournament where they gave Drake Maverick the win, and then the loss of the title to Santos Escobar. And then like he was in like the NXT Gauntlet Eliminator that was won by Kyle O'Reilly. And he just hasn't been like majorly involved in a big storyline until this. And I think like that's the thing that I just keep sinking my teeth into. And I think that's the reason why I think Kushida ends up winning the title. Is this is the first like real like, hey, this is your shot, go get it. And I think that that they're gonna pull the trigger, and I think it makes a ton of sense. But I do agree that I don't know if he is world title picture material, because I don't know if it makes sense for him to beat potentially Karrion Kross.
It would definitely take a real underdog story that I don't know that he's the character that you build as like quite that level of an underdog.
I don't know if you could build it where he could cut a good enough promo to be believable to be that big of an underdog.
No, he couldn't. I mean, he's the kind of person you'd have to give a manager to of some sort. I'm surprised they haven't already.
I mean, he is fluent in English. It's just I don't know if that's the trigger that you pull. But is it safe to say that Kushida's a guy that right now, like, I want him to win this title, and I want him to have a good title run, but I almost want the title run to be like, oh, it was good, but it wasn't like, hey, we should call him to the main card good, because I don't want him to get lost in the shuffle on the main card.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Because he would definitely get lost in the shuffle.
Oh, he'd be on main event in a week and a half fighting members of Retribution.
Yeah, it would be him versus Ali in like a 3-star classic on main event every week.
You're giving it way too much credit. He'd be fighting T-Bar.
Maybe she have Mr. Fuji be his manager.
Don't fuck with Slapjack like that. All right, main event of the NXT show, so we can finally get on to the next topic. For the NXT Championship of the World, the champion Finn Balor, the challenger, the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne. I so badly want Pete to win the title. You have no idea how bad I want Pete to win.
That would be such a moment.
But
that'd be a shocking moment just because of the moment.
I think Finn retains.
Yeah, me too. Same thing. Like I would love to see Pete win the title. It'd be a nice little shake up to the brand in the moment anyway. But I just don't see, Finn at least. I mean, especially if Edge. I don't think he's gonna pick Finn Balor to be his opponent at WrestleMania. But who would you think would be the bigger mix, the bigger fit for a Mania match? Edge against Finn or Edge against Pete Dunne? It's probably Finn Balor. Well, I mean, of the two, I'm saying.
Neither. I don't think either of them fits for Edge's style.
But again, the storyline is right now. Like, I don't think it'll happen. He'll pick Roman or Drew. I'm just saying that
the goddamn storyline is he's facing fucking Roman Reigns. Let's fucking be real here.
You think it's Roman?
Let's be as transparent as possible. He's facing fucking Roman at WrestleMania.
That said, regardless, I love to see Pete pull trigger on Pete Dunne. I just don't see it.
I mean, I hope it's Pete. You think it's gonna be Finn, but yeah, give me an opportunity to have the Bruiserweight in a title match.
Yeah,
I could actually 100% see them pulling the trigger and giving it to Dunne. And he might only be a transitional champion. He might be the guy that drops the belt over to Cross, like, by the next takeover. Because maybe they don't want Balor to lose to Cross, but they still want to get the belt over to him. Because, Balor's obviously, like, really, really huge star there. So, I could see that actually happening. And honestly, like, it's a shocking enough thing where everyone would be surprised, but it's not so shocking that it seems impossible. And it would just be kind of a really cool moment for Pete Dunne and for all his fans. Like, I'm hoping, I'm going to pick Dunne to win just because I want to put that energy out into the universe.
Me too. We like different here. Yeah, we like different around here. So, all right. Is that it?
Yeah, that's all for that show.
Okay, so tomorrow night, tonight actually will be the NXT Takeover. Check it out on the network or the award-winning WWE network. All right, my topic here now, and I kind of want to look back to something. We're now close to a year and a half removed from Kofi Kingston's one and only WWE title reign. Now I obviously remember the moment when he lost the title to Brock in 7 seconds on the premiere of Friday Night SmackDown. A lot of my fear then was that he would never get a chance again to compete for the title, and furthermore, he will be out of the picture. Now, I held out hope that maybe he'll be around the title picture at some point, whatever. But we're now, again, a year and a half removed from that, and Kofi loses the title that night, and he hasn't even sniffed as a single star the top picture again. And to me, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they didn't see Kofi Kingston as a guy who could maintain that, being the top guy. I certainly thought that was it 6 months from Mania to SmackDown when he held the title. I thought he had a really, really solid run, actually. Had some great matches with Dolph Ziggler and, Randy Orton or whatever. I thought that was a very solid run. But to me, I feel like for a guy at Kofi's talent, and I'm not saying he should have gotten the title again, but he's been literally out of the picture for a year and a half. So I want to pose a question to you guys. Did he get screwed based on his performance, leading up to that Mania 35, held the title 6 months, and then 7 seconds later the title's gone, and then poof, disappear? Did he get screwed?
Okay. Oh, can I go first?
Of course.
Floor is yours.
Okay. Yay, I love floors. That's a gay thing. Okay, so
what's wrong with you, Joe?
When you said this is going to be your topic, I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I'm actually excited to respond. Okay, so here's my answer. No, I do not think that WWE in any capacity is screwing Kofi Kingston over by not giving him any further main event singles pushes since his title reign about a year and a half ago. And I will explain to you why. So first of all, Kofi Kingston's title reign was a complete and utter anomaly. Like, let's be 100% honest here, okay? This is a guy that's been with the company since what, like 2006 or something like that. He's been around for a long time. They tried giving him singles pushes early on a bunch of different times. Some of them kind of worked, some of them kind of didn't. At one point, I think Randy Orton was like pissed because his mom didn't invite him over for chili or some shit, and that ended one of his singles runs. He kind of just never got out of like second gear and into that next level. He was always almost there. He was always really popular. He was always that mid-card guy that you can kind of shift into a higher level, but you never had to really push all the way. And that was just kind of his role, and he kind of fell into it. It's almost akin to the R-Truth role, except now he does more comedy than anything else.
Right.
But prior to them introducing the 24/7 title, R-Truth is kind of in the same capacity, honestly. Just like I said,
for,
more comedy.
Real quick, Joe, I think for me more than anything else, probably from because you guys been watching all the way through from the odds. So for me, Kofi Mania was one of the reasons why I kind of got back into wrestling. That was one of the things I was like, oh, this is interesting. Okay, and then it was so much hype. He gets the title. I get lumped back into watching about a month and a half later.
Right.
He's having really good matches. He's still really popular with fans. To me, it's not a look. I agree with you. He's actually better being part of that New Day faction. I don't see him as a number one guy. But to me, it was like he was here, and I'm not saying he should get the title back at all. What I'm saying to you is that he's literally have not been in the picture from the day he lost that title, and it's weird.
That's what I'm trying to say though. Like I didn't get to finish. I had this all practice. You fucking ruin everything, Brenda. Okay, anyway, let me go back to where I was.
Fucking right. Drama. You're drama queen, you know that?
God. All right, anyway. So, as I was saying, so here's the thing. I feel like his title reign, first of all, happened very organically. I don't think that the company was ever expecting him to become, at that moment, quite so over. Like, it was almost like randomly a nostalgia act. Even though Kofi Kingston never went anywhere, never disappeared, other than injuries and stuff. But it's not like he retired and came out of retirement or something. This wasn't Edge. But I swear to you, it kind of felt that way for a hot second, where everyone kind of got behind him. He had that great-looking run in that gauntlet match. And then all of a sudden it was like, you're just off to the races, and fans were so into him. It was almost like a hipster thing. It was like cool to be into Kofi Kingston at that moment. And I literally think that was one of those times where WWE actually kind of just ran with something that organically happened. Because, that wasn't the first time they ever threw Kofi Kingston into one of these Elimination Chamber matches to have him do some cool spots and everything, but he had no actual chance of winning the belt, That was far from the first time they ever did that. So I don't think that they thought that this was going to randomly be something that blew up, and then it did. It blew up. It blew up like fucking GameStop stock blew up, and kind of in the same sort of weird way where, it was kind of pushed by these people who are almost like, let's see if we can actually make this happen. Let's see if we can take this guy who's been a mid-carder for the last decade and somehow, like, really elevate him to the main event. And obviously he deserved it because he had the talent. But that's how it kind of happened, and WWE kind of went with it. I think part of the reason WWE went with it is because they had this guy who's been a diehard employee for them for the last decade, has never gotten into any kind of trouble, has never really been out injured for that long of a time, never been controversial. He's the kind of guy you can put into interviews. He looks good in front of families, all that kind of stuff. He can be a good guy. He can be a bad guy. He works all of that really well. He's, like, what do they say, like a really good hand, like he's all those things. And now they have this chance to say thank you to him. To say, you know what, all your hard work for the last decade, all this stuff where you thought you were never going to get past this level, you thought you were never going to get to this main event spot, it's happening. It's here. Fuck it. Why not? Let's do it. Let's see how long we can do it for. It's not going to last forever, but we can have a little fun with it for a while. And you know what? They could have easily have ended it after 1 month.
I agree.
He could have lost that belt back to Bryan a month later. It could have all just been about the victory, and that was it. I actually think he had a really good title reign. I think if you look at everything other than the way he lost it, it was a really fun reign full of a bunch of really fun matches.
And that's it, though, Joe, is that it literally ended so abruptly. And wait, I understand why he did it. I remember doing podcasts leading up to that week saying, no way in fucking hell is Brock losing to Kofi Kingston. It's just the 7 seconds thing.
Right.
That it was so abrupt. And then after that, nothing. Not even in the picture.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, they took this opportunity to say thank you to this guy that's been a stalwart with them forever. They took this chance to say thank you. They gave him this run. And then that was it. Then it's time to move on. Like, there was no giving him another run. This wasn't them making a main event star forever. This was them saying thank you to someone who now, at this point, frankly, it feels like he's in the end run of his career, you know? It feels like he's winding down, and, like, I think he's in the right position. That's why I don't think they're doing wrong by him, because I actually think that he's exactly where he should be.
No, that's what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. And I kind of agree with you, too.
Let's go some right.
Okay, drama queen.
You know, that's a hate crime. You can't call me that.
Oh, I can't. Forgot. It's 2021. We can't do saying shit like that. I apologize.
Yeah, no, don't make me cancel your ass.
Motherfucker. Okay. Okay, Mikey. Floor's yours.
All right. I don't like floors as much as Joe does. All right. First off,
you don't know what you're missing.
First off, can we address the first elephant in the room? That title reign happened because somebody else got hurt.
Ali, right?
Correct.
Okay.
He had his moment in the gauntlet, and everyone got behind him. And
I'm telling you,
he won
was
over
like
the crowd.
GameStop stock.
Yeah, it's a great analogy, actually.
But let's go back and look at it. If it wasn't for that chamber match, let's see where I'm trying to find the location
2019.
I'm trying to find the location of where that one was.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Was it Atlanta?
Close.
Was it,
okay. Close. Houston, Texas.
Close.
Even I knew that, and I'm bad at geography. That's not close.
Close.
It's part of the joke.
Okay. Exactly. The fans in Houston that night got Kofi to WrestleMania. The fans at SmackDown and the Gauntlet got Kofi to WrestleMania. The fans that have believed in New Day for the last, 6-7 years that they've been a tag team, they're the ones that got Kofi to WrestleMania and got that moment. And, let's not take away from that moment. In that moment, Kofi became the first African-born WWE champion. Became the 30th Triple Crown winner and the 20th Grand Slam winner. And to put, the icing on top of the cake, while he was champion, they gave the SmackDown tag titles to Woods and E. When was the last time you saw a 3-man group have the world title and the tag titles of their brand? Like DX with Hunter and the Outlaws?
Probably, if even then.
Yeah, probably it is the DX.
That's a pretty big moment for these guys. And to be perfectly honest with you, if you would have asked me when Kofi dropped the belt, if this was the end, I would have said no. But what I would have said is I wouldn't be surprised if Kofi was a man of his word, and if they ever broke up the New Day, that he would retire. And he still hasn't retired, and they broke up the New Day. Something that all three of them, for the longest time, were very adamant against doing. And for some reason, WWE still thought it was a smart idea to do.
Okay, but to be fair, I don't feel like they actually broke up the New Day. Because it wasn't a breakup like, nobody threw anybody through a window. Nobody, came out in a pink salmon sports coat and, faked out everybody else and beat them up. Like, none of that happened. They just kind of parted ways. And when they're on pay-per-views together, sometimes they have, like, those little reunions, Like, you'll have Big E still doing the entrance for them, or, you'll have them on camera together or whatever. So I don't actually think they've broken up the New Day. I feel like they've just allowed them to kind of expand, which has allowed Big E to actually kind of thrive on SmackDown. So I don't hate it.
I said whenever the draft happened and during our episode that if this led to E getting a push that he deserved and potentially a title match, I wouldn't be upset with it. And
Right.
I thought that he was a guy that, personally, I still say it, he should be the one facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I don't think that I've been swayed on my reasoning behind it. If that means he drops the U.S. title to Apollo Crews on a random episode of SmackDown, and he does something like Kofi and wins some gauntlet match and gets him, and then you get Edge versus McIntyre, like, I wouldn't be upset with that at all, in the slightest. I would love for that opportunity. But back to Kofi and the New Day with having all the titles and stuff like that. He had a good feud with Bryan, finished it off, had a decent match with Kevin at Money in the Bank, feuded with the returning Dolph Ziggler. They had a couple of really good matches. He even defended the title against Samoa Joe.
Yeah, remember that
in a match.
July 19, right?
So I mean, he also beat the two of them at the Smackville, the one in Nashville, the network special that they did. Beat Orton a couple times, And here's the thing: would you rather lose the belt in a 30-minute match to just gonna throw a cigar at the wall? Yeah, or would you rather be part of the legacy of one of the greatest in-ring performers in WWE history and be like, hey, I'm the guy that lost to fucking Brock Lesnar in 8 seconds? I'm pretty sure I'd rather lose to Brock in 8 seconds.
I kind of buy that argument. Like, at least it has a moment in time. At least it kind of matters. Like, it might not be something that people love to remember, but you're right. Like, it's something that matters. It's not like he just lost it kind of randomly. Because, look, he was always going to lose it. Kofi was always going to lose. He was always going to lose the belt eventually because that's kind of just what happens.
Right.
Like,
if Kofi loses that title,
the only reason that Ric Flair's a 16-time champion is because he's a 15-time loser, Like,
oh, right.
Factual.
Right. So that's the thing. It's like, eventually Kofi was going to lose the belt. Now, honestly, pick any title reign, like pick a recent reign, pick a long reign, whatever, and tell me that you can remember how the reign ended, who the person lost it to and everything, for like a random belt, like the IC title or something. You can't remember most of them,
Remember honkies.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, you go back to the 80s and the 90s when the title changes were a lot more rare and the belts kind of felt like they meant more. You do remember them then. But you give me like a random reign in the last decade or so of like the IC title or the US title or something, and it's almost like a trivia question of like who ended this reign, who ended Sami Zayn's reign like in 2015, that last. Like that's one that I don't know if many people are going to remember. You remember who Kofi lost this belt to. You remember that title loss.
By the way, it is Mike. There he is.
Yeah, back? No. For some reason, it just randomly just booted me from the call.
It's probably Kofi being pissed off.
Well, no. The last I heard from Joe was the point that I was actually going to kind of try to make is that at the end of the day, it's when you look at it, would anyone be angry and be having these conversations and be defending Kofi? And will we even have this as a topic? If he lost the belt in a 25-minute match to Sheamus at like No Way Out.
By the way, when I got back to watching the beginning of his reign, it took me a little while to get sold on him as a champion, to be honest with you. I was like, this is not something WWE would ever. I mean, Nothing against him. I'm just saying in terms of I didn't think they would put a belt on somebody like him. Like he's a little more he's a little more goofier and this kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
the
but
champions of years past who have been serious, a little more serious.
There's a major thing that's being left out of the Kofi topic,
Which is
and
that?
personally, one of the reasons why I think he won the World Heavyweight title.
Which is it a race?
No.
Oh, okay.
They sell a shit ton of merchandise.
Oh, I know.
Those guys sell a shit ton of merchandise between the three of them. And I think that's something that has to be held into the thought process. And let's be real, Joe can attest to it. I bought the shirt that Kofi was throwing out into the crowd that says, "There's a new champ." Yes, there is. I bought that shirt before we left the stadium that night. So not only did I spend however much money on ticket, no matter how to travel, the shirts that I bought prior to the show, the shirts that I bought from, other places, I made it a point to buy that shirt in that arena that night before we left.
This is making me want to go back and watch the Kofi and Bryan match, which I still say is probably one of the best wrestling matches on a WrestleMania in the last decade.
I'll say top 10. Definitely, I've watched it.
Okay, if you go back and watch that match on that night, I'm gonna be that guy, and it's okay because I know I'm that guy. That match should have finished the show.
Oh yeah.
No offense to Becky,
of course.
No offense to Charlotte, none
of
them.
Right.
That match should have finished the show that
Completely
night.
Completely agree with you. I like the way they booked the first match, Lesnar and Seth. That was genius. I understood why we did the last match being, the triple threat women's because of the moment and the meaning of it, all that. But as a wrestling match, I agree with you. 100% agree with you.
But so we've gone to, what is it now? 9 out of the last 10. We're 9-0-1 basically.
Yeah. I don't think this last one counts against.
No, I wouldn't count it.
That's why it's 9-0-1. It's like hockey. It's like we didn't lose it in regulation. We lost it in overtime.
Yeah, pandemic wins that one.
There was literally only one fan allowed at that show.
He was a big fan, though.
A big fan.
Big fan.
Huge fan.
Huge.
So what I would say is when you look at, the way that everything was done in the 9 that we've been to, I don't think I can name, and this is just off the top of my head, I don't think I can name 5 matches out of the 10 years that we've gone, 9 years that we've gone, that were better than that match.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, you could sell me on the moments, like Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns in San Francisco was not a good match. It's memorable because Seth cashed in Money in the Bank.
Right.
It's memorable because Brock Lesnar looked at a camera and said, "Suplex City, bitch." That's what that's memorable for, not the match. The match was kind of meh. The moment is what got it. The Seth match versus Orton earlier in the night, that was a good match. Don't know if it definitely wasn't better than that match, but it's a match that I could put in my top 10 of, live WrestleMania
that you've seen personally, right?
So it's like this thing, Bryan winning the world title against Roman, or not against Roman, against Orton and Batista at WrestleMania 30. That might be one of the greatest moments that me and Joe have witnessed.
Oh yeah.
In wrestling. But that match was kind of meh.
Well, Batista's in the match. Come on now.
I actually love that match. I'm not gonna lie.
But it's not the match that
I get
Bryan gets taken out early in that match, and it's like, oh, here's another Randy Orton Batista match. And then Bryan comes back in the match, and then the fans get into it, and then we get to the finish, and we get to the crescendo. It's like, with this Kofi Bryan match, it was the match. It was how we got there. That's the way I look. There was no, oh, well, Kofi just got taken out, and now random other people are going to get involved. We didn't get that. It was purely Kofi's moment. So I think that's probably 1 or 2 on my list. That's why I think it's easy to, like Joe said, last 10 years, it may be one of, if not the greatest WrestleMania match from an in-ring perspective. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I haven't seen every single WrestleMania match. I mean, from like say 20 to like 35, every single one.
Okay, that's
But
more
I'll
than
tell
a
you
decade.
what, though, from what I've seen through my life, from WrestleMania 1 through 36, top 10 for me, easily.
I definitely. Okay, wait. What are WrestleMania 30 through 37? That's the last one, right?
36 was the
I
last
think
one.
so.
Okay, so 30 through 36. How many of those have you seen?
The entire show?
Yes.
Now think about it, none. Not the entire show. I've gone through batches like sporadically.
What the hell is wrong with you?
So wait,
Oh.
here's your homework. You're gonna turn off Royal Rumble 2020,
Fuck
and
you.
you're gonna watch those
Fuck you.
WrestleManias.
I mean, you know.
So your son will love them. Fucking put them on.
He's seen them already, I think. I've seen
Well,
most
he'll
of
watch them again. He doesn't have power here.
Are you the head of the table or is he?
Listen. Take it from one daddy to another, okay? Hey,
Oh boy.
Oh my God, here we
boy.
go. Here goes Joe's fucking thing. By the way, look, Joe, just because you got a big goatee doesn't mean you can talk talking shit.
It's called a beard. You
Look like fucking Hugh Jackman Wolverine.
what?
Jesus.
You
He
know
was
what?
great. Well, I to go check your Facebook. I left you a little message there.
Huge Jackman.
Huge Jackman.
You heteros. All right. Anyway.
I have seen the big matches on those cards though. I've seen most of the matches, not every.
But you should go back and watch those full shows because you might find some hidden gems on there. They are WrestleManias.
No, I agree. I'm with you.
Well, like the Triple H versus Seth Rollins non-sanctioned match from Orlando.
I enjoyed that one.
That's 31, isn't it? 32?
32. That would be 33.
33. Okay.
32 was the one that took place at Jerry World, the Super Mega Death Center, as I call it. That's where we got to see Shane McMahon fly off the top of Hell in a Cell, I think.
It's against Taker, right? Oh, no.
Yes.
It was Taker. Yeah.
Yeah.
That match I saw also.
No, that wasn't the right pay-per-view.
Okay. I guess Joe,
it was that. It was. Wow, I was wrong. Wow.
Joseph, bring it home. What's your topic? AEW gets some love now.
So my topic comes actually from seeing a quote of a John Cena interview recently. I think I just said Cena, and that's weird. Cena.
I've seen her. John, I've seen her.
Yes. Okay, everybody use Cena in a sentence. Earnest, go.
You fucker.
Why are you so bad at life? Jesus Christ.
I'm old, fucker. I'm 40 years old.
God damn. All right. Anyway, is this what happens when you turn 40?
Yep.
Like, is this what I have coming? I'm not okay with that.
Well, you don't have kids. You're good.
Anyway. So,
but I digress.
Cena recently said in an interview, he was talking about how Drew McIntyre and Sasha Banks and I believe Roman Reigns are the new future, like, major stars of WWE, and how he likes how they've been, trying really hard to get themselves over, and they've done a great job, and the company has great job of pushing them as well. And I thought that was kind of interesting because actually the sad thing is Cena is a rare wrestler who is no longer really involved, who is at this point basically just a legend, who is basically retired, who has come out and said some very positive things about some current wrestlers and said some things that actually puts them in a position to maybe look better in the eyes of fans, and maybe some fans who haven't watched, wrestling in a while, maybe hearing an interview from John Cena saying, oh yeah, Drew McIntyre is looking really great. Y'all should check him out. Maybe they actually will go check him out. So I thought that was kind of interesting because, like I said, the truth is this is a rare thing. And really, more often, you have guys like Undertaker coming around being like, oh, they're all so soft. They just play video games. Or you have like Goldberg coming around, basically being like, everybody sucks except for me, because that's always been my attitude, and I'm Goldberg. Like, you don't have a lot of legends really putting over these newer wrestlers. And I know that everyone keeps saying that there's a lack of new stars. WWE is not successfully building new stars, but I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on what I kind of think, which is it also kind of the older wrestlers, these legends, are they also part of the problem why we're not seeing new stars? Because at the end of the day, like, they're not necessarily out here putting guys over. And I know that, Ernest, you're going to probably touch on AEW as you respond to this, because, they have a lot of quote-unquote legends involved in the company, but they have them as, like, fucking Pokemon masters. Like, they're out there just fucking collecting AEW roster members. Taz is just out here fucking like, I gotta catch them all. Like, it's really weird. I don't get their use of legends 100%. Like, sometimes it works, and sometimes it feels like Sting is bringing his kid to work. So I don't know. But I like, even just outside of that, and outside of like, how guys are used on AEW or whatever, I even think it's just the way guys talk. Like I said, like, I think it would go very far. Like, why isn't Goldberg out here now giving interviews talking about how, like, oh yeah, had this great match with Drew McIntyre. Boy, he's a real star. If he had been around in 1999, he would have kept me from being champion or something. Like, it would not hurt Goldberg in any capacity to put this man over, but he hasn't. In fact,
except for that he'd be lying.
What do you mean?
Their match wasn't great.
Well, no, of course, but I mean, like, company line is like, he put him over physically, like he let him pin him, but I don't know how much that's actually worth in the year 2020, like 2021. Like, I don't know, that may be worth something to casual fans, but I think it's worth even more if Goldberg came out here and said, like, hey, Drew McIntyre, like, you're what's next or something,
Well, Taker, to his credit, has put over guys too. I mean, the fact that AJ Styles was his final match of his career, I think it's pretty. I don't know. AJ Styles is older, obviously, but he's still considered next generation.
Styles, let's not act like putting over AJ Styles is like putting over a young talent.
Agreed.
Agreed. In 2002.
No, agreed. I see what you're saying there.
I mean, it was when Jerry Lynn did it, like.
But he would still be considered this PG era, like this, obviously he's older. He's been in business a long time, but anyway, like, you can argue The Rock was very much instrumental in getting Drew McIntyre to the top, because The Rock gave Drew McIntyre's blessing in late 2019 in an interview, and saying that he's ready to be the next guy. And right after he said those comments, because I remember writing about it in a blog when I said that at that King of the Ring that year that Baron Corbin won, that Drew McIntyre should have been the guy to be pushed forward, and that should be to propel him, And I used The Rock's quote. Months later, Drew McIntyre wins Royal Rumble. Drew McIntyre, months later than that, is a champion. So it does have an effect, and the fact that The Rock.
Right, and I guess that's interesting, actually, because, like, right, like, The Rock is basically, like, another guy like Cena who really has no problem going out there and being like, hey, this guy, I believe in him. I think he's going to be it. Like, keep your eye on him.
I think because these guys, like John Cena of the world, The Rocks of the world, they're happy where they're at now. I think because they're in a place right now where they're able to do other things outside the world of wrestling. It seems to come a lot less bitter, I guess. Whereas someone like Goldberg, for example, or another guy maybe on that kind of level, even lower, doesn't necessarily want to put another guy over because of ego and all that. It's it's one of those things where it depends on where the person's at in their life. There's a lot of resentment in this business. One thing's clear, and it's generational. A lot of resentment. The quote about Undertaker about what he said about being soft. I'm sure someone was misconstrued to some degree, But I'm kind of glad these guys aren't going to drugs. I'd rather these guys play video games and do the Twitches than fucking taking cocaine and crack and all this.
Yeah, seriously.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I agree completely with that.
with AEW real quick, you know, I'm kind of not really feeling the whole Jake Roberts, Lance Archer thing anymore. I'm kind of like, like I love Jake, but I don't know if does it make sense anymore to have that personally. Like if it's used correctly, like the older guys putting guys over, yeah. I think what Taz is being used correctly. What Taz is doing, the FTW thing, and Brian, his little faction with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, all that. That's fine. What they're doing with him is fine. But I think AEW now is in the overkill mode now. It's overkill. So I don't know.
I mean, I'm just waiting for the Acclaim to get Road Dogg Jesse James as their veteran so he can teach them how to rap.
Who? Who's that, Mike, you said?
The Acclaim, the team that wants to come out and act like the New Age Outlaws Light.
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting for them to get Road Dogg so that he can teach them how to rap. Because they're kind of trash.
I would adore him coming out with a little shake, rattle, and roll, like, and then they could feud with the Gun Club on Dark.
Exactly. That could be the greatest non-seen on national television feud of all time.
Yes.
Speaking of which,
okay. So let me. Here's my thing. Goldberg was specifically brought in for Saudi Arabia. They have to. They've already paid Goldberg, so why not get something out of him while they can? Which is Drew beating him. Fine, works for me. I don't need Goldberg going out and telling people, "Oh, I had this great match and Drew McIntyre's the future and this, that, and the other." Because Goldberg never put anybody over when he was in WCW. Do we not forget that it took him being so worried about himself that he had to be tased to lose his first match? Like, let's talk about that.
He was that unstoppable.
Okay. A taser beat him the first time, but one Claymore kick beat him this time.
Yeah. I mean, old age, man.
Yeah, okay. Let's I don't necessarily think that, him not saying anything is detrimental. The people that are saying the things that need to be said, the Rocks and the Cenas of the world, that works perfectly for me. Because those guys are the guys that had the torch and then passed the torch to the next generation. I don't need Goldberg, who was 2 generations ago, coming out and saying, "Oh, this guy's a really good wrestler. We had a great match together." Because then the first question would be, where the fuck was Goldberg in a main event for a world title? To an outside fan who watched wrestling in 1998 and saw Goldberg and knew how old Goldberg was at the time and knew that he was a football player and knew that he was already in his probably 30s by the time he got into WCW. Even if you're watching 2003 with us on the Names from the Exchange Wrestling podcast with myself and Joe Lopez, you've seen Goldberg. At that point, he was probably mid-30s? If you stopped watching after that, you would probably tell yourself, why the fuck is Goldberg telling me that he had a title match with somebody in 2021? I don't necessarily believe that I need the old guard telling us, "Oh, they're doing a great job building these guys." If you're a wrestling fan, you know who they're building, you know how they're building them. That's okay. I don't need someone who came in for 2 matches, including getting Saudi blood money, to tell me that the world champion right now is doing a good job. I know. I've been watching the product for the last year.
Right. Fair.
And that's my biggest thing when it comes to the Undertaker thing. Oh, they're soft. Oh, they're this. Oh, they're that. Okay. Be 100% transparent because, again, that's what I am. You know what, Taker? They may be being soft. That's fine. The entire country has become soft. The entire country over the last 15, 20 years is in their feelings. You can't say anything negative about anyone, whether they deserve it or not, without there being somebody on social media that's going to try to come after you for being a bully or mean. Hell, for the longest time, there were people that were defending Aaron Hernandez. Couldn't have been him. No way. Then Aaron takes his own life, and it's, Aaron could never do that. Aaron could never do that. To the end of the time, they're defending Aaron Hernandez. And if you went out and said something, they were the people that were jumping in your shit, saying that you're part of the problem and you're the issue. How am I the issue? Because the evidence that's being brought to me is showing that Aaron Hernandez did it. The world has become, if you don't see it my way, you're wrong. Whereas 20 years ago, me and you have a disagreement about something, and you want to have a conversation about it, you can sit down and have a conversation. We may not have come to an agreement. We may agree to disagree at the end of the conversation. But the conversation happens. At the end of it, you respect my opinion, I respect yours. We move on with our lives. That doesn't really happen anymore. And that I think is the issue that I have. And I think that's the issue that I have, where I don't need the old guard to tell me who the next star is. If Undertaker would have told me, yo, that Pete Dunne kid in NXT, that's the next guy. Oh, okay, someone that isn't even on the main roster. Let's give that Pete Dunne kid a look. Telling me that a 31-year-old, 32-year-old, 34-year-old, 35-year-old is the next star? No. They're already the star. Roman Reigns is already the star of WWE. Sasha Banks is already the star of the women's division in WWE. Give me names that make sense. Tell me Cameron Grimes is going to be the next big thing in WWE. All right, I guess I got to look after this Cameron Grimes fellow. Tell me about Pete Dunne. Tell me about Tyler Bate. Hell, tell me about Walter. And at least it gives me something, wow, these are guys that, the future. They're the future. All right, let's give those guys a look. That's just my opinion.
I mean,
I feel you.
Do you think that it helps maybe bring some eyes to new stars or to the product? I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a contingent of fans out there, or maybe even just people following on Twitter or something. But like you said, I don't know. I can name anybody. I can't think of anybody right now to name. It's like that. RVD. RVD all of a sudden tweeted out yo, that Matt Riddle and Keith Lee match from Raw. Check that out. I got to think that there's some people that might not have seen it otherwise that might be like, yo, I'm going to go check it out. RVD said check it out. I'm going to go check it out. I feel like that's a thing that might happen.
I do think there's enough guys, though, who, not necessarily on the level of Rock and Cena, obviously, but, with the wrestling media getting so big now in the last decade or so, you have guys like Bully Ray and Mark Henry and Booker T who have their own platforms, and they do get a lot of rub to other guys, too. I just saw Bully Ray today, a quote, give Lana, some props.
That, too, yeah.
You saw that quote?
Yeah, and you know what? The funny thing is, I get his argument. I kind of think he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with him.
No. So I think there's enough people out there doing it.
Right, she might not be the greatest wrestler, but she tries fucking hard. Okay, wait. I'm going to say this, and this is something that I said on Mike and mine's podcast that sounded like horrible English. But
the name
on our show,
change.
Right, on our show, on the Name Subject to Change podcast, when we were watching 2003, obviously, and Trish Stratus is there, and I kind of, in my opinion, kind of a hot take, at the very least, it's a take by a hot guy. I said that I think that Trish is actually kind of remembered with rose-colored glasses. And the truth is, she was never really better than good, but she went out there and she tried really hard. And I feel like the narrative that we've all kind of been, WWE washed into remembering is that she was this like incredible legend who was, just like the greatest women's wrestler of all time. And if you look at her in-ring work, she wasn't. She was lucky to be surrounded by some women who are genuinely some of the real trailblazers of that women's division to where it is now. Your Victorias and your like Litas and Jacqueline and Jazz and people like that. She was lucky to be around them because they were able to really carry her to good matches. But the other thing she had going for her was she tried hard. She wanted it and she worked at it and she definitely like did her absolute best. And you know what? That does go far when you're watching a wrestling match, And like as much as most of us have kind of shit talked and hated Lana with an unbridled passion, like I didn't know. I thought only gay men could hate lesbians as much as wrestling fans hate Lana. It's a real thing. It's crazy. So like I don't know why we all hated her so much, but yeah, Bully Ray is right. Homegirl tries hard. Homegirl delivers everything that she's asked to deliver, and you can't hate that, honestly.
No, I agree.
You shouldn't hate, but again, people are going to have their opinion, and if your opinion is different, they're not going to listen to what you have to say.
All right, before we get going, MVPs. Who wants to go first today?
I'll go last because this is like
wow.
I don't know what I want yet.
Okay, I'll go first real quick. My MVP this week actually is going to be the Honky Tonk Man. I've been binge watching all of 1987 Primetime Wrestling, which basically I'm at the end of the year and I'm basically in the middle of Honky's reign. And it's funny. I'm watching this, and we spoke about this back last year during our Intercontinental bracket. We did that either last summer or fall, whatever. And Honky actually advanced, I think, in a round or two, I think, because his one reign. And it's I'm watching this again, and and I'm like, wow, it's funny for him to be a major heel this time, at a time where you had the $1 Million Man was getting a lot of heat. You had Andre the Giant, still the probably biggest heel in the company because of Bobby Heenan and the Hogan rivalry. And for Honky to still stand out at that time, to me, was impressive. And watching the material, going from the 87, and I'm about to start 88 tomorrow, I'm very impressed because he wasn't really, obviously, he wasn't that great an in-ring wrestler, but the gimmick was over, and I don't know, he got a lot of heat at a time where it was hard to stand out like that. So I give the guy props, and he deserved to get a round or two into the bracket that we did last year, and this further explains why he got there. So my MVP this week is Honky Tonk Man.
I had somebody picked, and now I'm drawing a blank on who it was. So you got to give me a second. I'm trying to go back.
Somebody old or somebody?
No, somebody on the younger side that's integral part of the company right now. Is my son decided to wake up from his 4-hour nap at 1 a.m. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun night for me.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So my MVP this week is going to be. Oh, remember. You guys probably didn't see it because I don't think either one of you watches Talking Smack on the WWE Network for free.
Can I
my
guess?
MVP this week. Yeah, go ahead.
Is this Cesaro?
It is.
Yes.
I'm taking the Swiss Cyborg. That promo that he cut about, he wants it and he's busted his ass to get here. He's right. He has. Me and Joe watched Cesaro in Ring of Honor. We watched him in Chikara. We watched him, Dragon Gate USA. We've watched him in a lot of places, and Cesaro's come a long way. And if there's a guy that could get the Kofi effect from the Elimination Chamber, potentially put himself into a spot where he could be a world champion sooner rather than later, I think it's that guy right there. And it's a guy that I think should be in the world title picture more because I think he is absolutely deserving of being there.
Yeah, I look at him, I'm like, the way that they're starting to book him now, and if him and Seth are the next feud now, based on SmackDown last night, that's a good spot to be in with Seth, especially. I can see him being. You said Kofi. I'm looking at him like almost like Drew McIntyre, like from a year
Well,
and a half
I'm
ago.
saying the fans could get if the fans
Right.
come back and get
Right.
behind him, he could get the Kofi push from the fans to get
Oh
the
yeah,
world
absolutely.
title.
He's very likable. Even as a heel, he's likable. So I agree. Joseph,
I'm gonna give mine to Edge.
why? I like it though. Well, why?
I don't know. I mean, he won the Rumble.
Do you think he picks Roman also?
I mean, I feel like that is what makes the most sense. I'll say this. I could see him picking Drew. I don't hate that as an option. I think they would actually have a great match with each other. It would be a little bit of a styles clash, but I think it could still work really well. But I think that the natural story is him and Roman,
Right.
considering that Edge is definitely a star that is synonymous with SmackDown, you know? Like, AJ Styles is also, it's the house that AJ built, yada, yada, yada. But Edge kind of goes back to almost the beginnings of SmackDown. He was always one of their kind of central stars, and it was a little bit always stop and go, and he would kind of get hurt, and then, yeah, he was on Raw for a hot minute, yada, yada. But to me, like, I will always think of SmackDown when I think of Edge, so it kind of makes sense to me as, like, it's almost like Game of Thrones, you know, and the king is coming home to his castle, but finding that the Hound is taken over and refuses to give back power.
Interesting. I like that. All right.
I make it better than it is. I'm just.
All right, guys. So I guess everybody, check out, of course, the Mike and Joe's podcast, The Name Subject to Change, on all podcast catchers. And of course, my podcast, Earnest podcast, as well. Mike, Joe, anything else want to add before we go?
No.
I'm
Ready
good.
to go to sleep. Ready to go to sleep.
I'm gonna go have a hot pocket. The fuck you talking about?
Really?
Death pocket.
Yeah.
Yum. Okay. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.